Hey everybody, welcome back to Brick by Brick Podcast. Welcome, thank you for joining us to another one. I'm here with my co-hosts Andrew and Eric.
What's up, guys?
What up,
What's happening?
boys? Today, we got a special guest. As you can see, he's in the bottom of my screen. The owner of Bromley Football Academy, ex-Giant, Saint. Seen him in the XFL. Jay Bromley, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me, Luke.
You got three Giants fans, like we said before.
Die hard fan.
OG, man, baby.
Hell yeah, of course. For the fans that we have on here that don't know who you are, you want to give them a brief introduction of who you are, kind of, what you're doing and where you're at in life.
Yeah. My name is Jason Bromley. Some people know me as Jay Bromley. I'm a Syracuse grad. I'm a Jamaica, Queens, New York kid, born and raised Southside Jamaica, Queens. Went to Syracuse, played for the Orangemen for 4 years, drafted to the Giants in 2014, third round. Spent 4 years there, 4 great years with the Giants, 1 year with the Saints. Brief stint with the 49ers, and then played, half a season with the DC Defenders in Washington. So football has been something that I've been doing half my life, and something I really enjoy. Hopefully I get to continue to do it. And if I don't, I look forward to continuing to grow with Bromley Football Academy, which is a service that I'm offering to young men in New Jersey, New York, to help them really, especially big men, D linemen and linebackers, to get better, to learn their position, to learn their craft, to hopefully cultivate more scholarship offers and just productivity that leads to whatever it is the goal that they desire, whether that be scholarship offers, whether that be going to the league, whether that be getting to a high school and being productive. I want to be able to really help with that because of my expertise and my experience. So that's one thing I'm focusing on right now. At the same time, just staying healthy, staying strong, staying fit. So if that call comes, then I can go, continue to, play football and, provide for my family. And that's what I'm focusing on.
Absolutely. No, yeah, that's awesome. I think that's really big. You don't see a lot of D-line or linebacker, trainers around. I think you see mostly wide receiver guys or DB guys, never really a D-line linebacker coach around that. I think that's really big because I think technique's huge in college. I think that's the biggest step from high school to college is whether the technique you're working with your hands, your feet, your hips, all that, especially at the next level for your D-line and linebacker position players.
Another cool thing right there, man. I love hearing that you're New York born and raised. You went to college in New York, and then fortunate, man, you were drafted to New York, and now you're helping out the youth in New York. I think that's something that I don't think I've ever seen before. Somebody that's born and raised here, stay here through their 4 years of college, play, their NFL career here, and then also, give back to the community they came from and stay home. That's really sick. So hats off to you on that, man. I think that's something I've never seen before.
Thank you, Andrew. I mean, it's something important to me. Like, I've been fortunate to have Bromley, a free camp for kids these last probably like 3 or 4 years. Obviously, this year canceled because of COVID, but having over 150, 200 kids at a camp for free and being able to just have them come together, have fun, give away some things, have them compete, right? Because I've never really witnessed that growing up. I never had that experience. So to go back to your community, to give back in that way, and it's something minuscule. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a politician that's changing people's lives necessarily, but man, when you can kind of offer hope, a glimpse of what is possible. Like, I'm a kid that didn't grow up with his biological mother and father, you know what I'm saying, that comes from a impoverished neighborhood, that comes from the hood, that comes from, the drug infested neighborhoods and all these things. And then if I can find that light and be that rose that rises out the concrete, so to speak, then I want to give that to other people and showcase that so they know it's possible, rather than fall back into the trap of, hey man, this is life, I can't really, do anything about it.
Yeah, you're absolutely changing people's lives. Don't worry. You just said how, you're not changing people's lives. You're not a politician. Forget all that, man. Everything you just said, that's something that means the world there's, especially in New York, how populated this is. That means the world to millions of kids from all different communities, whether it's in New York City or in the suburbs outside. So hats off to you again, man. That's super meaningful.
I think athletes have more pull than politicians nowadays. Shoot, people worship athletes, and just to hear like your story and just, I mean, you're trying to just give back. So hats off, like Andrew said.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Now, playing football in New York, I played out in Long Island at Stony Brook, and now I'm up in Rochester at Brockport. I play with a bunch of guys in New York City. What was New York City football like, growing up? By us, we have, your high school, your football field, it's all in your town. In the city, it's a little bit different. What was it like growing up in New York City?
Growing up in New York City, it was fun, man. It's one of them things where you really just adapt to the environment. Like, you didn't need a car, you know what I'm saying? Once you got to high school, you know how to take the bus, you know how to take the train. Like, having a car was kind of like, it wasn't a necessity. It was something that, more like bragging rights. So growing up in New York City, like you said, it's a confined space, man. It's just a lot of condensed. It's like a lot of people in a small area. So, like, you're forced to get to know your neighbors. You're forced to get to know your neighborhoods more, and as you grow up in that, you understand the hierarchy of status. I went to ISA, middle school, where all the ISA basketball tournaments were. And, like, where ISA is dead smack in the middle of the hood. Like, it's like growing up where I grew up at, you kind of have to learn where you fit in on the food chart pretty soon, you know what I'm saying? And you have to, whether you're going to be a shark or you're going to be a guppy, it's just kind of like your mentality, and you figure it out. You understand that respect only comes, unfortunately, where we're from, with, sometimes act of violence. Like, you got to beat somebody up to earn respect so that somebody doesn't try you again. You know what I'm saying? So that was New York in a nutshell. It was all about how do you earn respect in different categories, whether that be on the field or whether that be in the streets or in the classroom. It's like, you're all about, the totem pole for respect and how it swings. So it's like, that was New York, but it was fun, man, because it was just, football in New York was like, it was unthought of. Like, it wasn't a big deal. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't a big deal. Basketball is a big deal. Like, basketball, ISA tournaments, AAU, big deal. Football is like, whatever. And I'm fortunate that, my senior year of high school, my coach, he had us in the best division. So we even though we weren't necessarily always doing great, we were in the best division. We went to the playoffs that year. We faced the Clintons. We faced like some of the real type tier schools so that we could get looks at some guys that might have been going places.
Absolutely.
So Jay, I have a question. So you see, like, it's either go one way or the other. You say be a shark or, a guppy. Who showed you the way to, make the right decisions and, brought you to the path of, keep your head in sports and, try to go to college and stuff like that?
Unfortunately, man, God rest his soul, I have a coach that passed away my second year in college. He was my D-line coach in high school, Coach Rudy. And literally, like, I didn't grow up with my dad. Like, my biological father did 17 years in prison. He went to prison almost as soon as I was born. And then I didn't see him until my senior year of high school. And then I wasn't raised with my biological mother either. So I was raised with my aunt, my uncle, still in a hood environment, still with all this. And then the father that I have, I'm grateful for him, but he wasn't a hands-on kind of guy. So Rudy would, like, pick me up in his, like, Jeep with no doors on, like, and take me to, like, get a burger and just talk to me about life and telling me, like, about staying humble, about integrity, about how to treat people, about how to work hard. Right. And for whatever reason, he just latched on to me, and he really just embraced me, like buying me cleats, things I couldn't afford, like helping me in that way and just seeing something in me that I didn't know I had, so pushing me to be that. So I just always kept that, work hard, be humble, work hard, be humble, work hard, be humble. That was like just the mantra in my mind always. And Rudy was just the nicest guy ever. So I always just kind of wanted to emulate him in that way. If I could give back and do what he did for me to one person or as many people as I can, then that would be kind of me really paying it forward for the opportunity he gave me.
Shout out to the Rudies in the world. For real.
Yeah.
I think you're on the right path too. Growing up, what was football to you? Who was your favorite team? Who did you look up to growing up?
Interestingly enough, man, I didn't play football until I got to high school.
Okay.
So when I was growing up, like we was playing, Killer Man with the ball and stuff like that in the park, but we weren't like, I wasn't like, oh man, I'm a Giants fan or I'm this fan. Like it really wasn't like that for me. Like I didn't have dreams of grandeur of playing in the NFL and running over people, jumping over people. It was more like when I got to high school and I decided I was going to play, it just so happens it's around the same time the Giants started playing the Super Bowls. So I kind of fell into the Giants because they was kind of New York, they were big blue, and then they were being successful at the time. So it kind of came natural.
That's awesome. So now in high school, first few years, what was it like, learning the sport going into high school? You're in a new environment, you're trying to learn a new sport. How did it come to you? Was it easy? When did it really pick up?
It was difficult, man. I almost quit. I quit, like literally, like when I was a freshman and I started. And I'm a chunky kid. I'm like, I don't even know how tall I am. Maybe I'm 6 feet, something like that. I'm a chunky kid. First time ever playing organized sports. And man, my grandmother had just passed away that summer before I went to high school, and she pretty much raised me up until that point. And I remember going home one day after practice, and I was distraught. And I told my mom, like, man, I don't think I want to do it. And, the wisest thing she ever told me, which really helped me get to this point, was she said, and I said I didn't want to do it because I miss my grandma. This is a 12, 13-year-old kid. And she told me, she said, if you don't want to do it, don't do it because you don't want to do it. Don't say you don't want to do it because you miss your grandma. Like basically saying, don't make that excuse. And that was probably the best thing my mom ever told me. And I literally went, I cried my little tears, and I got up and I never looked back. No matter how difficult it was, no matter how hard those 300s or all them field runs were, I embraced it. And then I just, kept pushing through it and progressively got better.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Now, when did you start getting college attention?
College attention, man, it's crazy because like in my locker, I had like a corner locker in the little field house or whatever at Flushing. And I was getting all kind of letters. I would get letters from Alabama, LSU. I don't even know how I got this stuff. Like I would get all kind of letters, but they would like it's not offers. They're mailing me to like invite me to like spring games, right? But I'm a poor kid from Queens, right? I can't get to Alabama. I can't get to LSU. I can't get there to even meet the coaches. So shoot, I can't even really get to Penn State. You know what I'm saying? So I have all these letters, and it seems like it's really positive, but it's really nothing coming from it. And so but my mindset was always, man, just keep working, and everything will kind of figure itself out. And then I just kept grinding, and eventually Stony Brook comes in the picture, and they say, hey man, we want to offer you a scholarship. But then you learn about all the process of what a scholarship, what it is for an athlete to go to college. Like, forget just a normal student. An athlete has to pass all these hoops they got to jump through with clearinghouse, credits, and all this different stuff. Obviously, you got SAT, ACT scores. So I was a good student. I was never a failing student. I was probably like a C+ student maybe. And so I was going through that process, and Stony Brook wound up pulling a scholarship because they didn't think I was going to go through clearinghouse. And so I'm at this point, by the time my senior year comes, I'm really anticipating going to JUCO. I'm anticipating going to Nassau, who was probably one of the better schools at the time, where I can go there for a year, kill it, and get 15, 20 scholarship offers. So that was my thought process my senior year of high school. And eventually I wind up going to, the Empire Challenge game, the Boomer Esiason game, and I win MVP. And literally, like, the next day, Syracuse calls. It's like, hey, man, we found a scholarship. Like, had one laying around. It was behind the table somewhere, We didn't know. Because, mind you, Syracuse had seen my film, and they declined to want to offer me a scholarship. So I go to I'm like the first kid in Flushing, like, since they rebooted the program, at least, to get an all-city bid. So I get an all-city bid. I play in the All-Star game, and as soon as I get on that stage, my mindset was, I'm going to be the best player on this stage. You know what I'm saying? I just remember that like it's night and day. I'm going to be the best player on this stage. And then I go to Syracuse, and then then that career starts to take off.
That's sick.
Playing in these all-star games in high school, because I think now as the games, gone on, they're making more all-star games for, seniors and this and that. How I know you touched on it, attacking that game, your mindset. Now, what was that like, being on that team and you got guys from all over that are, going here, going there. How did you mentally go through and say, I'm gonna win this thing,
When you're a dog, man, like when you have a certain like football is not just physical. Like I don't think any sport is just physical. It's a lot of it's mental. And how do you prepare yourself mentally? How do you go into it's like, the old saying, he who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right. Right. So if you keep feeding yourself some negative thoughts like, oh my God, I don't belong here, or these guys are so much bigger, stronger, faster than me, man. It's like, nah, man, go into it with a mindset from the beginning. Like, I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter how big, strong, fast. Like, I'm better than you. I'm a dog. Like, I'm going to figure a way out to win. Like, it might not be pretty. It might not be, look like the way yours looks, but I'm going to figure it out. And that was my mindset. Like, I never had dreams of necessarily going to the NFL. My thought process was always, I was motivated by everything that they said I wasn't. And when they said my feet were too slow, when the schools didn't want to give me scholarship, basically saying I'm not good enough, it was always like, or you got a guy in my same class that's considered, like I came in the same class as Dominique Easley. And he was the guy. He was the guy coming out of New York. You know what I'm saying? And then I looked at Dominique and I said, I remember my coach showing me his stuff, and I looked at Dominique and I said, okay, I'm just as good. I guess that's how I felt. Like, why am I looking? I'm not gonna look at you like you're anything better than me. You put on your pants one leg at a time too, So it's a lot of it was mentality, and then I was like, man, I just embraced the grind.
Nah, man, that's something that I love that you just touched on. I know that's something that we always talk about whenever we're in the gym or whenever we're together. Everybody loves to look at it as like a physical attribute thing when it comes to sports because it's a physical thing. We all the time, we tell our kids, I know, Luke, Eric, we always have this conversation is like how you approach it mentally, how you're prepared, how you're going to attack the game before you get there. And then when you're there, the confidence and the will that you bring to it means so much. So I'm really happy that you just touched on it because a lot of times I've seen great athletes fold under the pressure or fold under the moment or fold under, hey, that guy's really good. Everyone talks about him. He's the number one prospect, like you were saying about Easley. And they get beat before they even get to the arena. Mm-hmm. And that's something that's so, just not talked about. It's always about like, oh, what's your 40 time? How many times you bench 225? But like, if you beat yourself before you get to the game, you beat yourself before you physically can see the competition. Like, that is what it is. You got to make sure that you're prepared physically and mentally for any challenge. Because if you get beat mentally before you even get there, I don't care if you're, the best football player, the best basketball player in the world. If you don't got it up here, you're nothing. You're never going to make it on that great scale, that grand scale of playing in the NFL or the, MLB, NBA. It doesn't matter. So I love that you just touched on that. Mentality is everything.
Exactly. The reason it's Mamba mentality.
Yeah, Mamba mentality. Rest in peace, Kobe. You got to be a dog. Yeah. If you're going to make it to that great level, you got to be a dog.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think that's the biggest thing, mindset. I think a lot of kids, that's also something I want to touch on. I think a lot of kids, when they come into college or they're looking to play college football, a lot of them focus on, trying to be the heaviest they can, the biggest they can, this, that. We're like, realistically, if you come in there and you want to get this big and that big and then you get discouraged because you realize you're out of shape now, like, you got to be able to adjust to that, and you want to be able to, make the best out of every situation you have. I think, me, myself, transferring colleges, I think sometimes I look back and see the first opportunity I had at Stony Brook. I wish I almost took that almost more serious because now here I am, D3 All-American, and it's like I love football. Well, that's all I want to do. Going back into high school when you played that all-star game, you got the MVP, Syracuse called. What did that mean to you? Like, how did that change? It obviously changed your life. Where were you at mentally at that moment?
When that happened, you know what? I was on the bus. I played the game. Next day, I think I'm on the bus going to Flushing or something like that, and I get a call, and Coach Ansamo from Syracuse. He calls me. He says, hey, he's like a real Italian dude, like really, like it's like Scarface talking to you kind of thing. He talking to me. He's like, hey, we want to offer you a scholarship, we want to bring it out here, And at the time, I didn't say yes right away because I had literally at the same time, Syracuse calls and offers me a scholarship, and then Penn State calls. Penn State calls and they say, well, we want to see you. Like Larry Johnson, a great D-line coach, they said, we want to see you. Mind you, I've never been to I've really never even been to Penn State. So I wound up getting driven up there by one of my coaches, and we sit in the room with Larry Johnson. It was back when you had CDs. So it wasn't like you could just stream the game, right? So the CD, for whatever reason, I don't know if it was scratched up, it didn't work. But Larry was like, yo, I already seen the game. I already know I want you. You know what I'm saying? This is like the best D-line coach. Like my coach Rudy, Larry Johnson was like, for lack of better words, his idol. Like that was the person that he looked up to the most. And for me to be able to sit in a room with him and for him to look at me and say, look, I want you. You know what I'm saying? Was like, man, I know that brought, so much joy to Rudy. Unfortunately, they told me, this is what they told me. They said at the time, Joe Paterno was the head coach. And it had to obviously go through him and get checked on it. And they looked and they said he wasn't having a good day. And he said no. He said he wanted me to go to prep school for 6 months. And old proverb, a bird in the hand is better than two in the tree. Yeah. So I decided to say, I'm not going to Penn State, even though in retrospect, if I was really like, okay, man, I want to be with Larry, I could have did it and, did well and then whatever. But I wound up going to Syracuse with, taking a scholarship offer. And, as far as what changed, it was like, man, I was living in a moment. I always just lived in a moment. I never had an expectation of anything. I was like, this is amazing. Like, okay, I get to go to school. Fantastic. It's on scholarship. Fantastic. Let's see what comes from this.
For sure. Take every opportunity in strides.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how you got to do
really
it.
Worked out for you, man. Worked out for you. Ended up having a nice NFL career. And you get to stay in New York the whole way. I'm a Penn State fan, but, I love that. I can't get over it. I can't say that enough. You growing up in New York, going to college in New York, playing professional sport in New York, and then now doing something with a business in New York where you're still in the sports industry. That's the craziest thing. That's such a phenomenal thing for you to be able to do.
Thank you, Drew.
Yeah, and then you went off to Syracuse. 121 tackles, 25.5 TFLs, 14 sacks, 3 forced fumbles. You walked in there as a true freshman and played right away.
Yeah.
How did that? You know what I mean? You're saying you had no offers. Excuse me, senior year. End of senior year, you get your offer. And now you're starting.
Walking in the door, first ball. I can't even imagine.
Super rare as a lineman in college football.
Bro, I don't even know. It's thinking about it back. I don't even know how it really worked out. Like I said, man. My mentality was always just grind. All right, what else is in front of me? How do I? All right, this is what's in front of me. How do I change the narrative of me sucking? Right? Because you in high school, you're bigger and stronger than everybody most of the time. Right? Wasn't a great deal of technique, but now you get to college where the technique and everything is advanced, right? I'm an 18-year-old freshman going against 22-year-old seniors. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So how do I bridge that gap? And thank God I had a good coach by Coach Jimmy Brumbaugh, who was a technician, who was a disciple of Pete Jenkins, who's a phenomenal D-line coach. For everybody that's good gets a lot of this stuff from him, some way, one way, shape, form, or fashion. And what happens is I'm playing as a freshman. Like you said, I remember the first play. We go to Washington. I'd never been on a plane until I went to college. Now, I'd never been on a plane until I went to college. My first flight is a 6-hour flight to Washington. I'm like Michael Jackson in the Michael Jackson movie. I'm like crying, looking out the window, like, what's going on here? It's thundering, But I wound up flying there, and Jake Locker was the quarterback at the time, and he was booming. So the whole stadium, Jake Locker. And I remember the first play I get in there, I get scooped out my behind, they moving lateral. I'm trying to go vertical, and I get destroyed. But it's like that was my welcome to a D1 moment. But then after that, it was like it just flipped the switch. It was like, okay, like I'm the type of person I'm not okay with just sucking like forever. Like okay, I suck at the beginning, but I'm not going to continuously suck. Like I'm going to get better. I can't sit in a room with guys that are doing it well and not improve. So
Absolutely. Looking at Syracuse, you said you had a 4-year degree. What's your degree in? And how did you like taking that in college?
I decided to go with hospitality management. And mind you, I don't like blaming stuff on where we come from because obviously every individual has their own way. And, but it just so happens a lot of stuff when you grow up in the hood and you grow up in impoverished environments or poor environments, you get a lot of the same stories. I was never taught to value education in a way where I knew what I wanted to do when I went to college. It was surprising to everyone that I had a scholarship and went to college, right? So, and nobody in my house had graduated high school. So there was no expectation of, okay, you go to college and you become an engineer, you become a doctor, you become this. So I just realized early on that all my friends, all my teammates, they were taking degrees that would, like, to me, CRS. It was like you learn how to write essays. Like, bro, what is that really going to equate to in life, right? Once you get your core classes out the way. And I just seen hospitality management as something that was all-encompassing. Like, man, I get to learn how everything is hospitality. Dealing with people, you're always dealing with people. And then I can add in the marketing, the accounting. I can add in the numbers side of it, the business side. So I get to basically have a business degree, right? I was like, man, that was it for me. So I took that, and it had its different challenges because you had to have 400 hours of service. I had to create a business plan. I had to work on campus, like, and freaking flip quesadillas and freaking wash dishes. So I had to do more than what other guys were doing, but I stayed every Maymester. I didn't go home during the summers, and I graduated on time.
That's awesome. I know, these guys know it. I was a former college baseball player. Like, playing a college sport is a full-time job in itself. Mm-hmm. And then, at the Division I level, which I wasn't, I wasn't fortunate enough to play at that level, but, to do that and then do this extra stuff, like, hats off to you to graduate on time, man, because that is very unheard of. I work with a lot of college athletes. You do not see that very often.
Thank you, man.
No, it's testament to that mentality you're talking about, man. You're a dog, and that's the best quality you can ever have in being a person, is being an absolute dog, a worker, to not be denied. And clearly, everything, all the obstacles you went through in life, and then what you're just saying about college, like, you won't be denied, man. So that's something special. Best quality you can have as a person.
Amen, man. Perseverance. This is all about perseverance. All about, taking what you're given. You can't control what you're given all the time, but you can, look at what you're given and figure out how you're going to attack it. Like, I'm like, okay, man, I've come from poverty. I've come from, illegitimate families and stuff like that. So I come from where you don't have an inheritance. There's nothing that you've gained from the people before you. You know what I'm saying? And you gained a lot of, like, you love them to death, but you gained a lot of bad habits. So how do you transform that, right? And you're the patriarch of your family because you're the one that went to college. You graduated, you got the degree, you got your high school, you got drafted. Now, forget, everybody can probably go to college, but less than 2% of people ever play football, you know what I'm saying? Let alone get drafted. Even less than 2% if you talk about the numbers of draft picks in comparison to actually playing. So when you do all these things, it's like, man, okay, I'm setting standards that everyone that comes after me, good or bad or indifferent, you're going to see. And hopefully you have developed a mentality where it raises your game. Like, you know what? All right.
100%, man. You're setting a standard. It's exactly what you said for your kids, and then for people that and people that work for you in your community and in your football academy. You're setting that standard of, hey, I don't care what you were dealt. Everybody has a different hand, but it's not what you were dealt. It's about how you play the hand. It's about how you play the cards. And
exactly.
That everybody needs to know.
Exactly. I think I really wanted to ask was going up in, at Syracuse, what was, you had a, future teammate, Justin Pugh, on the other side. What was that like going against him every day in practice or one-on-ones? Was that like a guy that you loved to go against, or did you have someone else that you like to go against? Or
Oh, Justin Pugh is awesome. I love Pugh. I love Pugh, man. That's one of my favorite teammates ever of all time. Um, and the thing about it is when you're in college, and you're working against each other, we don't know who's going where, right? We don't know that, all right, this guy's a first rounder, this guy's a third rounder, this guy's this guy's that. Like, so when me, Pugh, and Chandler, like, we're all on the same field. You know what I'm saying? We're all working against each other. We're all watching each other. Like, we don't know what each one is growing into. You know what I'm saying? That is the beauty of being able to look back like, damn, like me and Pugh got kicked out of practice together by Coach Marone. You know what I'm saying? Like me and Pugh had a fight on the field and Coach Marone sent us both to the locker room and then we're both laughing about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, laughing about it in the locker room. Like, we're like, we got to practice early.
You got to hear that story. So what happened? I got to hear that story. What happened?
I'm pretty sure
Giants,
knowing Pugh, knowing exactly who Pugh is, probably a run play or a pass, run or pass, one of the two, and he probably holds me a little bit too much. Or I bull rush him, and then I like take his head and I just like stick my hand in his throat or something like that, and then he gets pissed off, and then he comes after me, and then I'm not no punk, so I don't back down, and then we get to wrestling or something, and then we don't necessarily stop when one person tries to come break us up. Yeah. So I can imagine it went something like that. He might have a interesting take on it, but I remember we laughed about that because we played together with the Giants too.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Oh, that's awesome. That's funny that, like what are the chances? And then you get drafted, or then you're on the same team, and that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Syracuse has such a great, history of football, Ernie Davis, Jim Brown, like that movie Express. I love that movie. What did that mean to you? Were you aware of the history of Syracuse or?
No, I wasn't aware of the history of Syracuse before I got there. But once I got there and I was able to spend some time, I started to learn about Ernie Davis, Jim Brown, and you learn about the history of Syracuse, Dwight Freeney, Donovan McNabb, you know what I'm saying, like Rodney Harrison, like then you start learning about the people they put out. Then you're like, wow, man, this place, like, like this isn't an afterthought, like D1 school. Like this is a spot that puts out a talent. You know what I'm saying? So at the time we had like a thing in one of the hallways. It was like Syracuse, a top 10 football program, like a NFL producing program at a time. So we knew that there was opportunity there, and then plus the schedule, everything, you had opportunity to really exceed. So and you had them pictures all the way around, and you always seen them, and then you got the statues and stuff, and then you learn about the story of Ernie Davis, and you're like, wow, like, and especially being a black man, you understand the story of Ernie Davis, the Jim Browns, the stuff that they grew up in, the things that they overcame. You're like, wow, these men really kind of paved the way for us to have the freedoms that we take on at this university in some ways.
Yep. Now, going into college, when did you realize that you were going to get drafted? I mean, third round, you had to know you were getting drafted, obviously, towards the end of senior season. But when did you realize that, hey, I could do this for a living?
Interestingly enough, it probably happened the year before. And not because I felt like I was, that guy or anything. What happened was, so after your season's over, you can go and you can put your name in, right? And you can see where you would get drafted if you leave, right? So after your junior year, you can put your name in and say, hey, man, what do you guys think? Where do you guys think I would go? So that could be first round, that could be undrafted, whatever. So after my junior year, I put in I do it. Like, you have to go to the strength and conditioning coaches, tell them you want to do it, right? So, and they tell all the coaches some way, somehow. So I put it in. It comes back undrafted, right? After my junior year. And I'm like, okay. And in my mind, it was just, I really wasn't going nowhere anywhere. I just kind of wanted to see what they were going to say. So I'm in class one day, and then I get a phone call from my D-line coach, who was a different D-line coach. He's Tim Dowse at the time. And I get a phone call. I'm in class, by the way. He knows I'm in class. So he calls me. He's like, hey, man, I got a question. I was like, hey, what's up, coach? Are you leaving? I was like, huh? What you talking about? He was like, I really need to know if you're leaving. He was like, because if you're leaving, that impacts everything, like recruiting, like da-da-da. So I'm like, nah, man, I'm good. I'm not going nowhere. I'm staying. Like, don't worry about it. But when I think back, that was the moment that I realized that he knew that I couldn't leave. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't like, bro, he ain't going nowhere. Like he can't play the next level. You know what I'm saying? It was like, nah, man, if he want to leave, he can leave. You know what I'm saying? Like he can actually go and do something. So that was, when I look back, that was the moment I was like, oh, they know I can go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, for sure.
Yeah, I believe in you. Yeah, that's
smart way to, I think that obviously they knew what they were talking about, panned out. Prepping for that draft, NFL Combine, I mean, that draft, you could go on for days with all the stars in it. Just a few of the D linemen that, you must have been working with, Clowney, Mack, Donald, Lawrence. What was it like being in the room with those guys? And, did you learn anything from them? Did you build a relationship with a lot of them? Or,
Me and
Where'd you
Clowney,
train?
I trained in Pensacola at Exos in Pensacola. Me and Clowney, Jarvis, we trained together. We all trained together. Me and Clowney was having 2K tournaments in my room. And
South Carolina grad.
yeah, South Carolina guy.
Yes, sir.
And and then when you get to the combine, you meet a bunch of other guys: Timmy Jernigan, Aaron Donald, like some phenomenal Anthony Johnson from LSU. You meet all these guys, and you really get to know them like your peers. You know what I'm saying? And me and Aaron Donald, we same class. So Syracuse, Pittsburgh, we always faced each other, right? So I was always kind of looking at what he was gonna do. You know what I'm saying? Like every time I played, I was like, I want to kind of. It's a hard task to try to outperform Aaron Donald. Okay, so
yeah,
but that was always a goal. You know what I'm saying? To try to outperform him. And to this day, man, he's a cool dude, man. Me and him have like a freaking like a passive cool relationship. Talk on social media and whatnot, man. A phenomenal guy. I want him to do very well. I think he's probably the best defensive player of all time, and I pray that he stays healthy and continues to do his thing.
Absolutely, he's a monster.
He's a superstar, absolute dog. Talk about a guy that played the cards he was dealt. Like he's not a big guy. You look at D linemen typically. 6'2", 6'3", 6'4". Aaron Donald is like 5'11", 6 foot, and he's the best defensive lineman in the NFL by like a wide margin.
Yeah, he took what God gave him, and he figured out how to master it, and put that with intelligence and, like you said, a mentality that won't quit.
Will not be denied. That's it. That's all it comes down to.
In that, you hear so many stories of what the combine's like and everything. The other side of the combine is a lot of mental stuff. They're asking you, questions, interviews. What was all that like? What did you get asked? Any weird questions? Did you find a question that stumped you, or what was that experience like?
No, man. Not that I remember. Honestly, I honestly felt disrespected at the combine. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Because I felt like personally coming out of college, there's 3 defensive tackles in the FBS, all of football, right, in college, that had 10 or more sacks. Aaron Donald, Nikita Whitlock, and myself.
Shit.
And I'm the biggest of the 3. All right, I'm 6'4". Nikita is freaking 5'7". Aaron's 5'11". Obviously a freak. Nikita's a freak too. He was just a freaking freak of a guy too. And I'm the less freakiest out of all of them. But I put up numbers, and I felt like I said this. I was quoted saying this, like, I don't understand how you could take I don't understand how you can take 10 defensive linemen before me, like defensive tackles or people that play my position. Like I feel like I put up more numbers, and I put up numbers versus Clemson, versus the Florida States, versus the good top tier teams, and and with that being said, I felt like when I got to the combine, you got this thing where they give you like this thing, and it has like your name in it, all your stuff, and then they'll have private meetings in them, right? If you have private meetings. I had no private meetings. Like nobody wanted to talk to me. So, but then you go in a room with like all teams, and it's like freaking blind dates, basically. Like you just go around tables talking to different teams, and then and then it's blind dates basically. And I did all those. I never even looked. This is how crazy the draft process is, though. I never spoke to the Giants.
Really?
They never showed any interest in me. They never said nothing to me. They never nothing.
Who showed the most interest? Who did you think you were going?
Maybe Detroit.
Detroit?
And I just played for the 49ers. The D-line coach that was there is there now. He was the D-line coach of Detroit when I was coming out. And he told me, like, bro, I wanted to draft you when you was coming out. You know, but I didn't last. Like, I knew, like you said, when did I know I was going to get drafted? I knew my senior year I was going to get drafted. I didn't know how high it was going to go, but I knew I was going to get drafted. And then when I got drafted in the third round, like, relatively earlier than I kind of expected based on what I heard, right? And, you know, that was all she wrote.
Draft night, third round. What was that like getting drafted? I mean, you said growing up you never even thought of the NFL, never thought you'd be playing in it, and now you're drafted, nonetheless third round, which is a major accomplishment. What was that like?
It was phenomenal, man. Like, at the time, I watched the second round. Me and my girlfriend at the time, now she's my wife. Watching the second round, and then I wind up, after the second round goes off, I wind up saying, all right, let's go to the store and get some popcorn, in the movie, whatever. I wound up going to the store. I'm in Tops. This is in Syracuse. In Tops supermarket, I see a phone call from a Jersey number, and something tells me pick it up. I pick it up. It's Jay Reese and Coach Coughlin on the phone saying, hey, Jay, we're on the board. We're going to pick you next. Da, da, da. Coach Coughlin didn't even know how much I weighed, okay? Coach Coughlin thought I was 280, okay? Every time Coach Coughlin talked to me, he was like, we're going to put some weight on you. 315, 350. He always preached to me like 315. Like, he just wanted me to gain weight. That's all he wanted me to do. But he was like, so once I got that call, man, it was phenomenal. Needless to say, that night after that got very, very exciting and crazy.
Yeah, I can imagine. You're going in Giants. Tom Coughlin, what was he like as a coach? You hear so many things about him. That he's old-fashioned, that he's so strict. What was that like being part of his system, his culture?
Now that I look back on it, being a more mature man and being a more vested man in life, you learn to appreciate the way that he went about things, because he wasn't just about being a coach to teach you how to play football. He was teaching you life. And the best coaches do that. The best coaches is not where they're isolating their techniques or whatever they're teaching you to a specific drill, but is where the overall concept of their teachings reflect life. So that the success isn't just in this sport, the success is in life. So you can take these teachers and you can put them over here, it's going to work. You put them over here, it's going to work. So that's Coach Coughlin in a nutshell. Like, I remember him telling me, like, yo, this is my rookie year. I'm sitting on the bench while the other Dominican Sue's playing. We're playing Detroit. I'm sitting on the bench. He says, why don't you get up and go watch? Like, go watch Sue. You know what I'm saying? Like, go watch the other D-line. You know what I'm saying? Watch them and learn how they play. You know what I'm saying? So he wanted me to, early on, he taught me to be a student of the game. Like, nah, man, watch. You know what I'm saying? Nah, man, like, the whole rule of Coach Coughlin, 5 minutes early. Every clock is set 5 minutes faster. You know what I'm saying? Because he knew that you should desire always to be early.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Keep your chin strap buckled. You know what I'm saying? Run from drill to drill. Like, he was just teaching you to be on. There was a certain way you were supposed to respond and act when you were in a certain environment.
Yep. Absolutely. I think that's pretty cool.
Old school. That's that old school stuff, but it's what works.
Yeah, it works. Hands down.
I love that. I love that you were saying, though, with the best coaches, it's almost like a system they're teaching you, not just a sport, because you want to be able to transition that stuff. Those coaches, that stuff hits different the way you just said that for me. I had a coach of mine, I'm not going to get into a tangent on it, but, it's the same thing. That you think they're just teaching you baseball out there, just teaching you, in your case, football, but like, nah, they're teaching you how to carry out and be a better man, when your time is done in that sport and how you carry things out in life. And that stuff, that's life-changing. For me, at least, that shit is super important.
100%.
So going in freshman, or not as a rookie, to the Giants, what was, did they have any, rookie traditions? Carrying helmets. Did you have to sing a song, or what was?
Yeah, how was the hazing process? Anything?
I was a third-round pick, so I was the highest drafted defensive player that year. So first was the first draft, Odell. Second, Weston Richburg, then me. And, it wasn't too many hazing conditions. Like, I had a great D-line room. I had JPP. I had Matthias Kiwanuka. I had Robert Ayers. I had Cullen Jenkins. I had Mike Patterson. I had Jonathan Hankins. Like, I had a phenomenal room of people that really didn't really, like, man, JPP, like, I didn't even really have a dinner that I had to pay for. Like, JPP, my dog for life, he always kind of, like, just showed love and took care of it. And it was more about the relationships that I built and how I acted amongst those guys. But I had to make sure that they had breakfast sandwiches like every Friday, like from Natoli's. It was like a spot like 5 minutes from my house. I had to make sure all the breakfast sandwiches was there. We had to make sure they had Popeyes. Me and Kerry Wynn had to make sure they had Popeyes before we got on the plane before an away game. Like you said, carrying some stuff in from helmets to shoulder pads, like making sure we restock the room with candy and freaking all freaking type of snacks. Like all the time, we gotta go spend $150 at Walmart with just hella snacks. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so those things were, what I experienced.
What was it like being around JPP?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask too.
He had a really good career as a Giant. Had a little bit of a weird ending, and obviously right now he's killing it with the Buccaneers, playing with Tom Brady. Like, what was it like playing with a guy like JPP who's had a pretty long, successful career now?
That is my brother, man. That is my brother, man. I just spoke to him not too long ago, and it's phenomenal. JPP, people that don't know him, he's a really helpful, loving guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's the type of guy, he make millions. He'll give you the shirt off his back. That's a guy that I know that if I call and whether I need something, I need a place to stay. Like, it's not even a question that I got it. You know what I'm saying? It's not even a question. And that's just the type of person he is. And that's 9 times out of 10, it's not just me that can do that to him. He's just like that kind of person, that helpful with so many different people and so many different things. And taught me a lot too. Playing with them, teaching you about running games, like teaching you about what things to look for on film. He's just his own unique person. And for him to have this longevity of success and like you said, after a freaking accident that most people, he had 2 accidents that people don't come back from. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like 2 accidents that people, like, God is so loves him so much. Okay. Like that hand thing, and like for him to be a monster with 3 fingers on one hand, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And for him to freaking be a monster with, coming back from, vertebrae or whatever damage in his neck. It's like, man, he is a talent, like a generational talent of a athlete.
Now, why do you? Sorry, why
I was just gonna ask.
Go on, Eric.
I was just gonna ask, did he teach you how to do any flips?
No, I can't do no flips, man. By the time at one point he got too heavy, and he wasn't. And now he probably could do flips. He's a little smaller now. At one point he get too heavy.
USF was crazy.
300 pounds sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Now, how do you think he had a great career with the Giants? Everything went on, and then how do you think he's reinventing himself right now? Like, how is he still, like, he's a threat at week in, week out right now, having a great season. How do you think he's still effective? You don't see guys that come back from, you got the hand, the neck. How is he still doing that?
Like I said, man, he's a unique talent. Like things that how his body moves, literally how his body moves.
Yep.
I almost beg for you to pick any other DN in the game that moves like he does. There's no DN that can move like him. Like Khalil Mack can't move like JPP. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm talking the way his knees bend, the way he can stay low and still be running full speed, like ahead and really be like that inside move is freaking deadly. Like, and for him to be smaller now than he was at other times, like at times in the Giants, he got about 300 pounds now, playing defensive end and still can do backflips. You know what I'm saying? At 300 pounds with a 6-pack kind of thing, like phenomenal talent. So I think it just goes credit to his work ethic. Like I lived with him for 2 weeks. Like we used to work out every day at 7 o'clock, like every day. So no matter what, we can go out, have a good time. We getting up at 7. We get back in the house at 3. We getting up at 7. You know what I'm saying? No doubt about it. We could throw up. All right, you throw up. Let's get back to the workout.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? So his work ethic speaks for itself to the longevity of how he's been able to produce.
That's awesome.
Now, I got a quick question for you. I know we're probably all thinking it as Giant fans. It's always a hot topic in New York. Eli Manning. You think he's a Hall of Famer?
Do I think Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer? Yes.
I mean,
I mean, how can you dispute it? Because there's going to be other guys that have less credentials. It's kind of like, what is your barrier of entry? Is it MVPs? Is it Super Bowl rings? Is it numbers? What is your barrier of entry? Because he has the Super Bowls.
Has the numbers too.
And he has the numbers. Like, so what else do we need to talk about?
I agree with you. As a diehard Giants fan, you are preaching to the choir. It gets louder for everybody out there that disagrees.
But that's life, though. You're never gonna make everybody happy, man. People think politics are only red and blue. No, I don't care. I don't care if you can't. Everybody's not gonna agree that vanilla ice cream is delicious.
Yeah.
Okay. You're never gonna make everybody happy. So just stop trying, man. Just figure out whatever the barrier is to entry, and just stick to it.
How's Odell as a teammate?
Odell's a good guy, man.
Yeah, I feel like in the media, it just gives him a bad rap. You know, like he's like a selfish person, and you know,
he's not like that, man. He's not. He's what he is. He's emotional. He's a human being, and he's more emotional than probably other dudes are. You know, more expressive with his disagreement with certain things. And you can like that or you can hate it. You know, they like it when it fits them. They like it when they like it, and they hate it when they hate it. Like it's just a love-hate thing. Yeah. But as far as a teammate, you can't find a locker room that don't like Odell. You know what I'm saying? That never comes from the players. That comes from people that don't know him. You know what I'm saying? Like that's it.
People that don't know the game.
Don't know the game.
Right. Absolutely. So now moving on. You know, you're drafted to the Giants. Your time comes to an end. Where were you know, did you think you were going to play with them your whole career? Were you accepting of, you know, moving on, this is a business, or where were you at mentally?
Mentally, man, I probably was, I mean, I knew that once the season was over and I wasn't getting the responses that, you know, I would have liked to from like the front office, and obviously they were going through a transition period, you know, then I knew that it wasn't necessarily a possibility at that time. I never had an idea or say, oh, I want to play my whole career with this one team. That never really bothered me. But what I thought about was, man, I just wanted to, you know, get the best deal possible for myself, what I thought I deserved to earn. And, you know, and that doesn't always work out to your benefit. You know, your price ultimately, or your value will ultimately always be dictated by someone else. You could think of what you want for yourself. You could think you're worth $500 million like Patrick. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to the table, if somebody else doesn't value it the same way, obviously you're skewed.
No, yeah, I think you know, I think you hit it dead on there. So now you're going to New Orleans, the Saints. You're going to another, you know, big name coach. You got another big name quarterback. What was I guess the biggest difference in cultures from being in New York for, you know, the years and then going into the Saints organization?
Biggest thing is you realize when I was with the Saints that was more of a team. That team was a lot more knitted together, a lot more oriented on winning, a lot more understanding that winning was like it was like a part of what they did.
The culture.
And they had a swag and a process about it. Like that's what you knew. Like I can't even lie. Like training camps in New York was probably harder than training camps in New Orleans, even though quote unquote it was supposed to be hotter. We had freaking literally 18-wheeler cooler. You know what I'm saying? That we would sit in. Like he would send the O-line, D-line in to sit for like 5 minutes. And then we come back out and then we practice. You know what I'm saying? Like, but he knew how to take care of your body. Like he knew how to work you. He knew what to do. And then, you know, just, you know, Sean Payton is, you know, he's a good football coach.
You know, you're going to the Saints, you know, obviously Giants, JPP, all those guys. Now you got Cameron Jordan. What was it like joining the Saints D line and being with those type of guys?
Fun, man. It was fun. I love Cam. I love Cam. I love Cam's personality. His beautiful family. And love Cam, man. He's a guy that, you know, he sets the standard of how to work, how to get after it every day. Obviously, perennial all-pro, you know, and just a great personality that you want to play with. And, you know, the D-line coach, probably the best D-line coach I had in the league. As far as really getting guys prepared, like phenomenal. Another coach, Pete Jenkins, disciple. And, man, it was a phenomenal thing, man. Marcus Davenport was a rookie at the time. Alex Okafor, you know, phenomenal guy. Sheldon Rankins, Tyler Davison, David Onyemata. It was just a phenomenal group of guys that I had the pleasure of playing with, like you talked about earlier. Stiley.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now, I got another QB question for you. There's another hot topic. We're talking like all-time greats, the GOAT conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Where you got like a guy like Drew Brees compared to like a Tom Brady or Peyton Manning, or our boy
Drew Brees is 1A, 1B. Tom Brady and him. I think it's the same way they're going at it, and it changes every week from who has the most touchdowns. That's exactly how it goes. It all depends on like you said, who's the greatest of all time. I think it's Brady. Why? Because if you're adding up everything, he wins. Like, period. Like, what are we at? What are we talking about? Championships, he got them. MVPs, numbers, he got them. So stop talking. He got it. You know what I'm saying? There's no more talking. You know, like, people are so in love with their team, like they try to make, I don't know if it's Dan Marino or freaking Joe Namath. They try to name these people like they're greater than them. They don't even like it's only one top spot. You can be great in your own right. Like, people just don't want to put people over here and say he was great. He was great, phenomenal, great, but he's not the greatest.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And that's okay because there's only one of those.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I feel you. I just know right now everybody's always debating. I always see it, whether it's on Facebook or kids at the gym. We're talking about the GOAT. You know, that's the big thing right now in sports, the GOAT. And it's always Brady. It's always Peyton. It's always Drew Brees. You know, you got a lot of old heads like you talk about that bring up Joe Montana or Dan Marino. But this generation, it seems to always be the debate is Brees, Manning, and Brady.
And next generation is going to be Mahomes.
Oh, hell yeah, yeah.
You know, Lamar.
You know,
like, you know, Russell Wilson.
Russell never gets enough love right now. He's been unreal for the last like 7-8 years.
Yeah. So it's debatable.
Now, so going on, you're with the Saints. You're at the 49ers now. You have a camp invite. You know, how did that experience go? I know it was a short time, but what did you take anything from it?
It went great, man. I felt like if I don't never play football again, I'm fortunate that all I did was get better. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like I can look back at my career and literally I just watched I've literally been going back watching all my games that I've played and looking at my plays. And I realized, like, I've had my best preseason with the 49ers. You know what I'm saying? I had the most sacks I had in the preseason. I got better. I played well. And I played well. I didn't even have a preseason with them. Like, I came in August, had to learn the playbook, and then go out and play, right? And then go out and play in a scheme that I really never played in before. So with all that being said, man, I enjoyed it, man. Like I said, I had a coach that you know actually liked me, that wanted to draft me before I was coming in, and I got to play with DeForest Buckner, I got to play with Joey Bosa. I got to play with like some phenomenal guys, phenomenal talents, D Ford, and Solomon Thomas. Like I got to play with some great talent. So I really just enjoyed the process. So when I got cut, like, for lack of better words, like I wasn't even like upset. You know what I'm saying? I was like, one, I knew I played really well. So in my mind, I'm like, yo, I'm going to get another call because, man, I went out there and did what I was supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? So, and then I was just like, man, I did all you can do whenever you put your best foot forward and then you go out there and do what it is that you can do is just be grateful and then smile and then walk forward.
Yep. No, I think you I think you've been hitting every point. So going forward, like you were saying, so now XFL, you're on a team with a few guys. You got rookies. You got, veteran NFL veterans. What was it like for being an NFL veteran yourself, going in there with older guys? Not necessarily older, but veteran football players playing in the XFL.
Um, it had its challenge. It was a humbling experience, right? It was, you can't get around that. You can't go from the NFL to the XFL and not be honest and say it's not a humbling experience. Especially, I'm a 3rd round draft pick. I'm a day 2 guy.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So we all know the expectations when it comes to certain rounds, and me believing in myself, I just thought that, man, look, man, I don't really belong here, but if it's an opportunity to showcase my abilities and then be able to, get back to the league, then I'm going to humble myself and put the work in. And uniquely enough, I almost didn't do it. Literally, I didn't want to sign the contract. Like, I didn't like the numbers. I didn't like the coach. I didn't like the way he was like perceiving himself. Like he was trying to make it seem like it was about to be like a college environment. Like he was about to like run us in the ground. Like I was not for that. Like I was totally against it.
Yeah.
And I literally had to call my pastor outside the door before I signed the paper. Like, hey man, I don't know about this, man. Look, I got a couple dollars, man. I'll be all right. I'll figure it out. You know what I'm saying? So, but long story short, I wound up, I had got some great words from a friend of mine. He said, man, don't go running when you hit a dog walking at the door. Go open the door. All right. So long story short, so I say my mentality, once I opened that door, once I said yes, it was no looking back. That's just the kind of person I am. I said yes, there's no looking back. Good, bad, or indifferent, there's no looking back. Ups or downs, there's no looking back. I'm not quitting on this thing. I'm going. You know what I'm saying? So I wound up doing everything that was asked of me. I wound up being voted team captain and, have an expectation of, going out there and producing. So, which I led my defensive line in all categories. So I thought I did that and, did the best I could. Always believe I can do a lot better. I felt like that in every single game I watched, every single game I've ever played, and I could have played better. But went out there and just did what I thought I could do.
Now, XFL is a little different with, you got guys coming in from college or, a year or two out. You had teammates like Donnell Pumphrey, who's the all-time rushing leader in college at San Diego State. Mm-hmm. You had Tyree Jackson, who is, sensation at Buffalo. What was it like watching those guys come in there? Pumphrey had a year or 2 in the league already, but what was it like watching those guys come in there and, watching them showcase their talent?
Pump was good. Pump was a good back, good scat back. Jackson, man, it's funny because he was sitting behind, what's his name? Cardell Jones.
Yeah.
Good guy, Cardell. You know what I'm saying? But I never felt like he was like that. You know what I'm saying? Just being honest. And but at that level, you were paying the quarterback so much more than everybody else. It was like really hard to bench him, kind of thing.
Yep.
It's, he had 2 good games and then just started playing poorly. But it really was great that eventually Jackson was able to get in there. And I've had simple moments with him in the elevator kind of thing, where it was like, nah, man, just keep going. You know what I'm saying? Just keep going. I know it's frustrating, man, but keep your head up. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you never know when that opportunity is going to come, and you have to be prepared. Because a lot of football, I know a lot of life is mental. A lot of life is self-talk. Like, a lot of life is like, man, because if you, it's enough going on outside, enough people doubting and criticizing that. If you allow that to creep inside your heart, where you can't speak volumes to yourself, where it's like, nah, man, I can do it. Nah, man, like, I'm good enough. I belong here. Or shoot, I'm better than that. Whatever it is, you'll incriminate yourself to the point where it's like, you know what, maybe I don't belong here. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe there's a reason why I'm not starting, or they're benching me, or whatever the case. Nah, man, you got to tap into that inner dog and be like, nah, man, I made some mistakes, but you thought it was sweet. It's finna get sour. You know
what I'm saying? So you're there, XFL. Obviously, it got cut short because of COVID. what was, we had another XFL guy on here not too long ago, Vic Ochi, played D line as well. What was your day like when they canceled everything?
We had just beat the #1 team with the quarterback Teamu, and I think the Memphis team. So we had just beat them, just played a really good game. So we coming back, we're preparing. We get through practice that week, at least 1 or 2 practices that week, and we see all the rumblings of coronavirus, and we see like the NBA shut down. Once the NBA shut down,
Right.
it was like it's only a matter of time.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? It's only a matter of time. So it wound up happening. It was like March 7th or something like that, and we get a call. We all get in the building, and the coach talks about what they're trying to do, and he was like, hopefully we only go home for a couple of days and we come back. Hopefully we only go home, we come back, wind up, going home. I live in New Jersey, so I was able to just drive back to my wife and my kids, and and that was that.
Yep. No, I think that's pretty. I think the XFL's got. I think they got something that I think could work. What do you think of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson buying the XFL, and where do you think that direction's going to go with that?
He's a showman. So he's a showman. He learned from McMahon. You know what I'm saying? So I think that, and then he actually, really likes football, and played football. So I think as long as you can compensate the players, rightly, and you can, broker the deals with the companies, after Corona is over, to, get the right, TV and all that good stuff. I think the product is there. We showed it last year. Like, we showed it this year that the product can be good. Like, we can, it was great playing in Washington. Like, our fans were dope. You know what I'm saying? For that to be the first time that league happened, like, we had a packed house, and the fans were dope. Like, they came out to support. So, and people love football, man. It's modern day gladiator sport. People love to see blood. People love to see violence. So, I mean, it is what it is. And they don't care about seasons. They just want to see it. If they can pay, they'll pay for a year round if you give it to them. Why you think these are very intelligent businessmen? These are not fools that don't see profit and that don't do the numbers and see that they can scale this thing and they can take advantage of it ultimately. And in the same process, change people's lives. So I think he'll do phenomenal.
Talking XFL, I know your season got short, but where were you? I know you guys just came off of a big win. Were you, where are you now, honestly? Like, I know you said you're staying ready and this, that. Like, you still think you could play? Do you still want to play? How important is it that you get back on the field to you?
One, I know I can play. That's 100%. That's beyond a shadow of a doubt in my mind.
You prove that.
I've proven that every opportunity I've had, and through the grace of God. So my confidence in that is unwavering. The opportunity will present itself, God willing, when God determines that is the right opportunity. Because I know more important than football is my family. More important than football is my faith. More important than football is my health. Football is not who I am. Football is a aspect of my life that changed my life. It is a remarkable thing that changed my life and given me opportunity. So I'm in New Jersey right now with my wife and my children. I have 2 wonderful sons. I have a beautiful wife. And I'm working on other aspects of my life that I get to cultivate now that I have time on my hands to really sit down and assess who I am outside of football, and then when I did that, it really helped me understand how much I want to help people. And I feel like what helped me the most in my life, it was coaches. It was coaches that became father figures in the sense of, you spend more time with your coaches than you do your parents. You know what I'm saying? So that whatever their ministry is, you're taking it in. So I have an opportunity to do that to young men and even older men to share not only my experiences but my beliefs that about integrity, about work ethic, things that I know correspond not only to football but life. And that is what I desire to do, and that's what I'm going to do with Bromley Football Academy, is really initiate something that really, really, snowballs into helping young men and older men, pros, really become everything that they're capable of, not just in football, but as husbands, as fathers, as friends, and in all those areas.
Now, I know I'm going to have a bunch of kids from the gym that are interested. I'm sure there are going to be a bunch of listeners also. Like, where can we find out more information about Bromley Football Academy? Social media, website, stuff like that. Like, if somebody want to get in touch with you about getting involved, where can they do that?
I have social media, Bromley Football Academy, Instagram, or my personal account at Tape 96. Both are viable. And if you wanted to email me, if anyone wanted to email me with any questions about training, about pricing, whatever the case may be, bromleyfa@gmail.com. That is the easiest way to get in touch with me. I'm working on building a website. So right now we're still in the growth process, but I am training people, and I do look forward to it.
Absolutely. So all you young kids out there that want to know what it takes to get to the next level, man, make sure we're checking out Bromley Football Academy.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you personally, I following your page for a while now, but I've seen your drills. I send them to my D linemen at my school, D linemen, linebackers. I'm like, yo, check out this video, just to work technique, because I think even we have these social medias nowadays, and it takes over our life, but there's so much good out of it, where we see all these videos and resources, and you can find trainers and build your business and all this, where I think taking advantage of that is huge and will help so many of young athletes reach that next level.
Yeah, man. I look forward to it, man. I have a bunch of content, man. And I feel like the difference between what I'm trying to do, and I think is the difference between Bromley Football Academy, like myself, and what I'm going to offer, what I offer to people and to young men or pros, is the teaching ability. Like, I hate it when a coach made me do drills that didn't relate to what I was supposed to do in the game, right? Or I hate it when I had to do drills that I couldn't understand. Like, why is this important? Can you show me why I need to do this? Can you show me where he's doing this in the game? Can you show me where all these freaking ladder drills even make sense? You know what I'm saying?
Baby.
So my thing is the practicality of it all. D-line is not necessarily a really like mind-blowing, like smart position. It's I've seen Aaron Donald say it in a video. It's about doing the same thing over and over and over and over again till it becomes so second nature that, that you don't have to think about it. So that's D-line in a nutshell. The blocks don't change. Base, reach, cutoff. You're going to get a version of that or pass. You're going to get a version of that every single play. How do you play chess in the pass game where you're going against a guy all game? You just want to beat him once. If you get one sack a game, you'll freaking be an all-American, all-pro. You know what I'm saying? So you don't need to freaking get 6 sacks a game. You don't need to be OCU Mayura. You know what I'm saying? You just need one, So that's what I've just seen coaches like not paying attention to the guys when they're going. Like, you see guys just like collecting a check, and it's like, man, how are you really like I had a question and didn't really get. I got to figure out my best way to get my messages out to my audience. Is that, like, how do you even, as a parent that might not know everything about the sport, how do you look at a coach besides their resume and understand if they know what they're talking about, right? Because if you don't know, he could be saying anything. He could be saying, man, the sky is green, water tastes like cherries, like, whatever it is, and you don't know, you know what I'm saying? So that is what I know, like, all right, I got a resume that speaks for itself. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's whatever. But when I get in front of you, I can write on paper and show you that I'm not a D lineman that all I paid attention to was what a nose does. No, I can tell you what their formation does and why it does that. You know what I'm saying? And what they want to do with that. You know what I'm saying? So it's that expansive thing that I bring to Bromley Football Academy that's going to help college athletes be better pros and high school athletes go to college and play like I did from day one.
And that's definitely some game-changing stuff. So now we're going to ask you, I want to kind of get out of you is what was your toughest moment in your career, and how did you overcome
My toughest moment in my career, how to overcome that. I would say, man, honestly, something that's non-football, right? You come from an environment where you come from where I come from, you don't have money, and you grow up and you have money, and you have money. All money is comfort and access. So you have access to things that you didn't really have access to before, whether it be cars, jewelry, clothes, right? Now, if you're like me, you try to stay humble throughout the process, and you really don't get big-headed about who you are. So even though you know my name, all of you guys know my names, and there's a lot of people that know my name, right? And I don't really think of myself like that, right? So I look at myself, I'm Jay. I'm Jay from Southside. All right, I got a couple dollars, and I play football. Like, cool. Yippee-ki-yo. You know what I'm saying? I've been doing it my whole life. So what you don't understand is the responsibility that comes along with that name, with that opportunity, with your experience, and then how you not only become that, you become also you don't really realize you become a target sometimes from other people. And the hardest part of my career, the experience that I had, was when I was falsely accused, after my second year in the league, because I was doing exactly what quote unquote athletes are supposed to do, is hang out with chicks, right? And you don't realize that just a bad engagement with the right person can really send your life in a spiral that you don't want to, be a part of. And I thank God that, it was 100% false. And I thank God that I didn't lose my job. But as a young man back then, as an older man now, I would say, man, wisdom would say, I don't care if you're the last man on the roster. Understand that you have everything to lose. Understand that some people look at it as everything to gain. And you have to be very picky and choosy about who you spend your time with and why. And it's unfortunate, but people try to take advantage and get money from people and get exposure, clout, whatever you want to call it, because of who you are. And that's a power in and of itself, that your name brings enough attention that if I say something you did, right, wrong, or indifferent, is going to get the type of attention that I want. So understanding that at an earlier age, that is probably my moment it sucks, but I learned the most from. You know what I'm saying? And to view myself in the right way.
And I think you killed that answer, man. I think that was the best way you could have answered it.
Knocked that out of the park with that one. 100%.
Thank you.
Any other questions, guys?
I mean, I got one. Basically your whole backstory, we talked about, how you handled what you were given in life. There's so many kids out there that come from similar backgrounds. What's like the most important thing, if you could say to them, to somebody that came up, like your story, you came up in an area, you didn't have money, you didn't spend time with your father, he was in prison, you didn't have necessarily the role models or the assets that a lot of other people are born with. There's so many other people out there that I've worked with locally that are in similar positions. What's something you would tell them to give them hope or to give them some guidance where it's like, hey, you're not alone. Just because you weren't handed rainbows and unicorns doesn't mean that your life has to suck, doesn't mean that you can't break this cycle and take what you have, or take something, even if it's not sports, and just go make something of your life, because that's something that everybody needs. And I think you are the perfect person to talk about that.
What would I say to somebody like that? I would say, man, similar to what you said, man, it's not about how you start. It's about, it's not even about the destination. It's about the journey. And the destination can be whatever it is it's going to be. The destination can actually change in the world view. It can change. Like, whatever success is to you, don't let other people dictate what success is to you. Like, I know people that have phenomenal talent that didn't want to play in the league. They rather just be a teacher. And who am I to say you're wasting your talent? Who am I to say that, right? Like, the reality of it is you might be a phenomenal teacher as well, right? And that might be the way you feel like you can really help change and help young men and women rather than playing sports. Because when we play sports, we become idols to an extent, and we're not perfect. So we're bound to mess up. If you stare at a person long enough, you're going to see their flaws. So it's like, don't look at men and idolize them, right? I would say to a young man that, unfortunately, when you come from poverty, you don't have a lot of father figures to look up to. So you don't have men in your life that are directly involved with directing you, right? Because your father is supposed to be able to direct you so that you don't make that left turn when you're supposed to make the right. But when you don't have that, when 70% of African American households lack fathers, the guidance is off. So I would say, man, when you have a coach that truly shows that he loves you, that he's dedicated to pushing you in the right direction, push against that. Don't rebel against that, man, because you're so not used to love.
Yeah.
It's scary. It's like I don't like that feeling. That feel weird. You know what I'm saying? Like it feel weird. Like, why did he a man? Like, I don't want to. Why do I feel like that? That rebellion in you will push you to just neglect the guidance that older men and some women have for you that can lead you in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And don't let nobody tell you what you can't do. That's something that we all should know. And you can be everything that God, made you to be. Because if God didn't make you 7 feet, you can't play center for the Lakers. You can play point guard, right, at 5'7", but you can't play center. So the thought process that you can be anything you want to be is wrong. You have to change the word. You can be anything that God created you to be. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So you have to adapt to that and embrace it and realize that, man, life is long, circumstances change. And how can I, throughout the process, learn, grow, adapt, and be consistent in my growth?
Absolutely.
It's beautiful, man. I love it. I love everything, man. Thank you so much for that answer.
So wrapping it up, I'm going to ask you just a quick few questions, kind of get more personal level. Favorite comedian?
Favorite comedian? Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy.
Classic.
Eddie Murphy.
Yep. With that. Are you an MJ or a LeBron guy?
LeBron.
Yes. Hell yeah.
LeBron guy.
Favorite
King James.
King James. Goat James.
Yep.
Favorite thing you've done during quarantine so far?
Favorite thing I've done during quarantine? That's a trick question. Favorite thing I've done during quarantine? I just been with my family, man. Yep. I've been with my family and I've been able to watch my sons and be with my wife, and that has been a pleasure.
Next question, actually, will your sons be playing football, or do you want
if they desire to?
Yep.
And if they desire to, but I think that I understand the process, and I understand how, like, scholarships are more of a science than they are anything. So you can scientifically figure out how to get your kids scholarships if you put them in the right places, and obviously if they have some size and some speed. But my kids won't play football till they get to high school.
Okay.
Just like me. If I didn't need that first 13 years, you don't need it either.
Of course. Save that hit to the head, man. Save as much.
Body will appreciate
Then
it.
start throwing.
All right.
Yes, start throwing.
I put right there.
Let's go with, who do you have for the Super Bowl this year? Super Bowl favorite prediction.
Chiefs and I don't even know. Are they in the same division? Green Bay and the Chiefs in the same division?
No, they're different.
They're different.
NFC, AFC, yeah. They can play each
other.
All
right, so Chiefs and Green Bay.
I like that.
Let's throw the salt in the game with that one.
Yeah, no, for sure. So really, that's really most of our questions. Finish it up with the last one. If you could really name one teammate that stood out to you throughout your whole career, favorite teammate or someone that you've had the biggest relationship with, who would you say that would be?
Man, probably Kerry Wynn. Kerry Wynn played defensive end at the Giants. Me and him have been good friends, and a part of each other's lives for a few years, and watched him have great success as a free agent. And I couldn't be more proud of him and happy for him.
Yep. Yeah, I think I saw you guys trained at Impact Zone together, right?
Yes.
Oh, yep. I've gone there a few times.
I guess you trained at Apex Performance.
That's right. So we ask our guests kind of this as the last question. If you had to pick one person to be on this podcast, who would you recommend?
If I had anybody to pick to be on this podcast, who would I recommend?
Yeah, who would you recommend us to try and bring on for a next episode?
Rob Thomas.
Rob Thomas.
Rob Thomas, D lineman I played with the Giants.
Okay.
He's a great personality, and he's a good guy.
Sweet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have to get things going with that. You know, thank you very much for coming on. You know, I kind of want to give you a little time, shoot off again about, you know, Bromley Football Academy, your social medias again, just so people know where to find you, where to follow you, and you know, basically that's really it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Luke. Jason Bromley here, owner, head trainer of Bromley Football Academy, specializing in training defensive linemen and linebackers. I travel to clients as well as create resources that bring clients to me to train them to become efficient at defensive line techniques and understanding the game of football in the whole. And, you know, I'm here in the tri-state area, based in New Jersey, will travel to New York for group sessions, and if it all makes sense. And I really look forward to just helping people cultivate greatness. That's what Bromley Football Academy is about. It's about growth. It's like, man, getting 1% better every day. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day, so they say. And I'm all about just training people in the fundamentals to get better each and every day, not a bunch of, busy work that looks good for Instagram, but things that are really going to translate. And I have film that shows you I did it at every level, at the highest level. And I'm grateful for the opportunity that any mother, father, uncle, aunt give me. And I'll treat your sons like they're mine, and and try to just minister to them in the best way possible.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you again. I mean, you got a great story. You've done a great job on your career. You're obviously still growing. You're still going. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for being on. Eric, Drew, any last comments?
Once again, just thanks, man. It's been a pleasure to meet you, not just as a fan of the Giants and a fan of you and your playing career, but honestly, hearing everything you had to say. Keep being a leader of men, like honestly, men and women. Keep being a leader, because you got a lot of great things to say, and we need more people in the society that are going to give back to the kids. You know, we always say, do it for the kids. Keep doing it, man. It was great speaking with you, and I appreciate everything you're doing as a coach and as a man.
Thank you, Drew, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I would just say true inspiration, man. Best luck. And, yeah, thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Eric. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you guys next podcast.